welcome to episode 3 of Abu's Absurdities. In this episode, we'll be considering a combo involving Bunny on the Edge of Forever, a card that lets you replay a turn, and 2 can play that game, a card that lets you replay a card played during a turn. Before we get into the combo, we have to consider some complicated mechanics. What counts as the current turn for 2 can play that game? Or more specifically, when redoing the turn, is Bunny on the Edge of Forever considered played during the current turn? In order to answer these questions, I have some confirmed interactions from Jeff himself that are also quite consistent with the Bunny bits. First we'll look at. So let's pretend I'm playing a card like Mystery Urn, and I don't like how it goes the first time, so I decide to play Bunny on the Edge of Forever, playing it a second time. It is confirmed at this point, if I don't like my second attempt, I may play 2 can play that game on the Bunny on the Edge of Forever, thereby getting a third attempt. So therefore, it is confirmed that Bunny on the Edge of Forever is considered to have been played during the current turn, and therefore may be replayed with 2 can play that game, allowing for 3 potential attempts. However, we have one more confirmed interaction that makes this significantly more interesting. And that will answer the question of what happens to 2 can play that game when it replays Bunny on the Edge Forever. Normally, cards return to their starting position, but is it true that 2 can play that game would return to its starting position since it's the card that's resolving Bunny on the Edge Forever? Let's see. We have a second confirmed interaction involving alliteration situation. In this case, we have the Mystery Urn again. After playing the Mystery Urn, assuming we have a bunny remaining, we play alliteration situation, assuming our first name starts with B, and retrieve the Bunny on the Edge of Forever, getting us a second attempt. It is confirmed at this point that alliteration situation is returned to its starting position, and Bunny on the Edge Forever is returned back to the discard pile. Therefore, since we have our starting position once again, we actually have infinite attempts. We will be able to attempt the Mystery Urn as long as we still have a bunny at the end of the failed attempt, until we get the result we want. It is mechanically confirmed in the case of alliteration situation that even though alliteration situation is the card resolving Bunny on the Edge of Forever, it is still returned to the original position. We can therefore assume the same interaction with 2 can play that game. This means that if you have Bunny on the Edge of Forever in your hand, and 2 can play that game in your hand, and a card that's worth attempting multiple times, you have the infinite attempts loop. The question you're all asking right now is this combo overpowered? The strength of the infinite attempts loop is determined by the optimal case of the cards being attempted. For example, the optimal case of the Mystery Urn would of course be stealing all of the bunnies, carrots, zodiacs, mysterious places from all the opponents. However, it's not quite that simple, because the patience of the group is also tested. Just because the optimal result is quote-unquote guaranteed over time, the amount of attempts it would take to get that optimal result is unknown, and therefore it's perhaps unviable. You are not going to roll these dice for the next million years until you get the optimal result. You're going to stop at a result when you are satisfied. But also note that most players do not appreciate delay of game. So if you get a bit too greedy with the results you want, they may decide to punish you later in the game. Recall value threat theory. After achieving this combo, how many of your opponents are likely to let you get away with it? Aren't they going to have a large retaliation against this? Usually. As always, the viability of a combo or a strategy is determined by the group and is thereby inherently balanced. After gaining so much value, your opponents ought to consider you a large threat, especially since you still have 2 can play that game at the end of this combo, Once you finally get the loop that is successful and the result that you're satisfied with, the Toucan Play That Game is still in your hand or your save special, wherever it was starting its position. So therefore, the infinite attempts loop according to value threat theory is often too strong to be viable in the majority of groups. A few more notes on it. With the 2 cards you need being very specific, unless your first name starts with the letter B, in which case you can use alliteration situation, and Bunny on the Edge of Forever being able to be in the discard at that point, it's sufficiently unlikely to see this combo ever happen. The very rare chance that you'll find this combo is also exceedingly greater because you have to find a card that's worth attempting several times. The Mystery Urn is actually not a great example, because since the Toucan Play That Game is aggressive, the viable uses are limited further. In this example, Mystery Urn wouldn't be able to be attempted again if the worst case occurred. The worst case being the player losing all of their bunnies, because then they could not play the Toucan. This has been episode 3 of Abu's Absurdities, looking at a combo between Bunny on the Edge of Forever and Toucan Play That Game. And as always, Jeff bless.